All right. Well, obviously, excited to get back here in Memorial. Just to recognize a few things. Military Appreciation Day. I'm sure you've seen all week. We've kind of done some things to bring that to the attention, especially Monday night. Was able to receive a football from the Air Board and T. Strain, two guys. Luke's obviously long history with the military with his family, and then T. Moment was pretty cool with our players. And this weekend is Dad's Day as well, so a lot of our parents will meet our kids and have a special moment with them walking into the stadium on Illini walk. And then I just wanted to wish all the Illinois high schools, over 250 high schools across the state, entering the playoffs for this weekend. And I think thinking back to my time, it's just a special moment as a high school football player, but also now as perspective as a coach, administrator, really a parent, a community. Coach Ryan on our staff, I've just heard him talk so strongly about, not just the game itself, but the event of the playoffs, and to correlate and relate to that is really kind of a cool feeling within our state. So wish everybody great luck and moving forward. From our standpoint, injury wise, obviously Art had his surgery on Wednesday, went back and forth with him, hoping to see him sometime today or tomorrow. His dad actually is in town and was able to join him through this first surgery. Went very, very well. I think everybody's excited about the results as it moves forward. So he'll begin that process of healing, and then we'll look at late November, possibly jumping forward into that next phase of his surgery process. Chase Brown has been cleared 100%, practiced with us all week, passed all the things that he needed to get through to be where he is. A couple of guys that join us, actually also Vidarian Lowe will be full throttle with us, I believe, barring anything setback wise between now and Saturday to get to where we want to be with him. And really, Seth Coleman has had a good week of practice. There's been a couple, just with a change in weather, been a couple of guys with some flu bugs, some sniffles, some sore throats, but other than that, we should be full throttle coming for the Rutgers game, other than the obvious guys that have been out. So excited about that opportunity. Tremendous respect for Coach Ciano, a guy that I've known in this business for a long time. I was a young buck at the University of Iowa when he came in and interviewed for a D coordinator job. When Kirk took the job at Iowa, he'd just come from the Bears. So he and I crossed paths early in life and kind of stayed connected. I know several coaches on his staff that I've been with, either working with in a college capacity or the NFL, and just tremendous respect for what they are and what they represent. So excited to get to the game. Hopefully we're going to bring as many into Memorial Stadium as we possibly can to play one of our last two opportunities here. Obviously Northwestern coming at the end of the season with that game, but this is one of our last few opportunities to be in the stadium. A lot of special seniors that will get honored next time we're in there as a senior day. So trying to get our guys to rally around them to give them the best opportunity they can to have a good feeling leaving Memorial Stadium here in the last couple of games. So with that, I'll open it up for some questions.
Coach, I wanted to look back at Penn State one more time. Have you of the end of the game? I know you're busy during the game. Have you had a chance to listen to that?
I have. I actually, my wife had sent it to me, but I had, I believe, over 400 messages on my phones that people reaching out to me. So you pay attention to the ones from your wife, right? And Martin and Brian, is that what you're talking about? Those two?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I actually heard it when we first landed, and then that night when I was sitting on the couch, I believe they were the college football final. It was the replay of their call of the game, and I mean, I've only been here a short time. Have a tremendous respect for Brian and Martin, and I know Martin wears his heart on his sleeve. So to hear that that call was pretty cool. I go back to the Charlotte game. Even I was giving Martin a hard time. On the long run by Chase, you could hear him in the back. Brian was calling him, but you could hear Martin go, "Go, go, go!" Like I just get a lot of kick out of those two in the way they call the game.
I assume you appreciate what they do, correct?
Yeah, one of the cool things about college football, you don't really realize it until you're not in it, right? I was in the NFL, wouldn't trade that in for the world, my 3 years of doing that, but you really don't have the interaction with not only the fan base, but really the media, or in college football, your own team, right? The radio team that does it everywhere I've ever been. I know I'm talking to some of the old timers on this call, but, Bob Brooks was a guy at Iowa that interviewed me as a player that I then followed and as a coach and all the Gary Dolphin is one of my best friends to this day to go up to the University of Wisconsin. Matt LePay and Mike Lucas were the two guys that called it when I was at Wisconsin. When I was able to come back, I was able to see those guys. I just have tremendous respect and I couldn't wait here. I knew there was a Learfield connection. I had a feeling I was probably going to like the guys that do their job here, and it's exactly what it's been.
Thanks, Coach.
Yep.
Hey, Coach, thanks for doing this. I see you've got your camo hat on. What does kind of Military Appreciation Day mean for you and your program this weekend?
Alec, very observant, but I actually started wearing this last week. On Tuesday, I'm a guy that kind of tries to change the mojo. So last Tuesday, it was sitting there, and I grabbed it and put it on. And after last week, you can bet your sweet little bejesus that I was going to have it on this week. So it had nothing. It is obviously. But what was funny last week when we were at practice, the first person to say something to me obviously was Luke Ford. He's like, "Coach, can I get one of those hats?" And I thought we already had them. I thought since I had them, I thought the players had them. And then Owen Carney, of all people, a guy from South Dade, came up to me from Miami and said to me, "Hey, Coach, can I get one of those hats?" And I said, "You get a sack, you'll get a hat. I promise you." And then the way the game kind of played out, I made a decision on Sunday. We try to recognize our MVPs. So in recognition of the week we had in front of us and recognition of what they did last week, we ordered hats for the entire 74 guys on the plane, and they'll get those tomorrow. So I'm sure they'll be donning those for the Military Appreciation game this weekend.
And then obviously Memorial Stadium's kind of named after the veterans who died in World War I. What does it mean to be able to celebrate not just them, but also current veterans?
It just means so much. I give Kent Brown a lot of credit. Like when I got here, obviously knew it was Memorial Stadium, but didn't know the whole history. And Kent kind of gave it to me. And then George McDonald, a former player, I go back to, I think I've shared this story, but I had all of my coaches, all 10 assistants, get up and give a talk. And George McDonald got up and gave a talk about Illinois traditions and things they needed to be aware of beyond the game of football. And he talked about the columns and what they represented. He gave the numbers. The stats and everything around it. And literally like 2 days later, I'm on my phone. I think I was either in my office or in Smith Center here. And my FaceTime lit up with Owen Carney. And I'm like, oh, this ought to be entertaining. And it was OC and DJ. And I believe somebody else was with them. And they were up in the columns looking at the names and the storyline of it. And I'm like, I text Gio right away. I said, "You don't think you made a difference?" Like, we got OC and DJ, two kids from Miami and Fort Lauderdale, who are up in their entire time here, had never witnessed that and have been brought to their attention. I think that's the part about the education that we go forward. That ROTC group that gave me the football, I believe, was a 22-mile march that they were on, and it was in representation of the 22 service members that potentially take drastic actions of their own life on a daily basis, right? It was a representation of that, and it just makes you come full circle into how much this place and this stadium is much more than just football.
Thanks, Coach. Appreciate it.
Yep.
Hey, Bret. It was a cool moment earlier this week when you said that you were sending Casey's gloves to the Hall of Fame for college football, and that kind of anecdote about him wanting to wear those gloves. I'm just curious how Casey and kind of the receivers as a whole have managed with this offense, being such a run-first offense and really establishing that identity. How have they responded to that?
Well, I think it's a work in progress. I think for us to win games, we got to do what we do best in that game, right? And it's not a run-first mentality. It's a win-first mentality. And whatever gives us the best chance to win is what we'll do. We obviously statistically haven't been great at throwing the football, so we got to continue to work and improve. But I think you should probably look, right? The first play of the game was a barge formation run to our left. That was a big hit. And that next play was a downtown shot to Casey, right? So you can take the narrative and spin it, but we really want to be a balanced football team. I think statistically, if you can run the football for 200 and throw the football 200, if you can have that competitive balance as a football team, you'll win a lot of games. Statistically, that's been proven over the course of time. So as we get better in the throwing game, we'll be able to help us out in the running game and vice versa. But we just obviously have been able to execute a little bit better in the run game, which has skewed the stats a little bit.
Yeah, well, I'm definitely not trying to spin any narrative or
No,
anything.
I get you.
But as far as being a receiver and knowing that, maybe you guys haven't been able to put together as much completed passes as you'd like, what does it take to be excited about, making a difference as a blocker and opening up space that way?
Yeah, well, first off, if a receiver is opening up space, we got problems, right? They're on the edges, they're blocking the perimeter, and I think that the guys have done a really good job on some of those bigger runs. You'll see our wide receivers downfield blocking, but to your point, like we really have to be conscientious, and it also sells the point of, hey, if you show us what you can do, this is the opportunity that exists because we're looking for it. I really like the demeanor even today in our practice. I thought the wide receivers in general really competed and did some really good things. Just working with BP and RJ and trying to get the passing game going so that we feel good about it today, leaving the field on Thursday, so we can feel good about those calls on Saturday.
And ever since Casey got to Illinois, he's a guy who's never really shied away from trying to make big plays. Just as far as him coming through and making that big play, what do you think that meant to him and to this group confidence wise?
Well, I think it means a lot, right? Like he away from the game itself, right? The whole transfer to Wake, come back, get eligible, all the perseverance that he had, not really knowing me and taking a chance to come back and be a part of what we're doing, I think speaks volumes to the faith and the trust. I think he was relying heavily on a lot of the guys in the building here about what we were made up as coaches. And, hopefully this past Saturday is just going to be scratching the surface of what his story is.
Thanks, Bret.
Yeah.
Hi, Coach. I know every game is important, but this Rutgers game, is it more so just from a momentum standpoint and trying to get that second consecutive win?
A great point. But I would tell you this, like there's no space or no thought in our program that puts any one game above the others. All right. So the way we approach Nebraska is the same way that we approach UTSA, same way that we approach Maryland, Purdue, Wisconsin, and obviously this past weekend. I get it. I understand the question. I understand the logic, but that's logic for outside of this building. In this building, you have to have a competitive nature to make this week duplicate the results of last week. And to do that, they had to approach Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday the same exact way. I just don't know how to do it any other way. I think you guard, as a head coach, that they were getting kudos for the way they played Saturday. So I definitely have been different in the way I approached and handled them and messaged to them Sunday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, because I know that they're probably hearing from a lot of people how good they are. So that changes a little bit, but there's no extra preparation or an extra test or an extra tip or a tip of a reminder. They're all very important.
Thank you, Coach.
Yep.
Hey, Bret, I know you talked about the importance of flushing Penn State out, focusing on Rutgers. How has your team done that this week?
Okay. I would say, the proof will come in the pudding Saturday at 11. As a coach, I think it's always important to try and read your players and understand them. I really believe, I even shared with our team today, the 80-20 rule, right? If you got 80% of your guys doing things right, that usually that 20% is going to continue to follow them. If you start going the other way, you got problems. So I like the response. I've really leaned heavily on our leadership, our Illini council, the guys that I know are acting right, doing right. And we'll see where it lands on Saturday. But I do like the demeanor. I thought Tuesday was a good practice. Wednesday, for the most part, was fairly clean. Today was uniquely different because it was a weather day outside, and we can't practice in the indoor just because of space. We can't practice at the same time. So we had to split up and have the defense practice first and then the offense practiced afterwards. We had to split our meeting times. It was something they handled very, very well. I gave them kudos for that in our travel meeting. And it's just another indicator to me about how well they're learning the process, right? So they had never done that before we got here. They just practiced everybody out there on the field. That's only a 60-yard field when you take out the end zone, and it just doesn't work that way. So we have to do what we got to do. And part of that was having a split practice today, and they handled it very, very well.
Thanks, Bret.
Yep. You guys all good?
Oh, hey, Coach, you talked about the Wednesday practice during the bye week a lot. I'm curious, what are you seeing? And based off of what I've talked with your players about? What are you hearing during a practice like that makes you feel like it's special?
Yeah, that's a great point, Matt. I think you hear physical football, right? Like you hear the way they play, you hear their strain, you hear the sounds of their pads. And to be quite honest, you hear them communicate. Like it'll be I always talk about, hey, it's very good and important to have, communication, but pre-snap and post-snap communication is the lifeline to success, right? The more you talk and understand what's happening before the play, the better chance you'll have when the ball is snapped. And then the better we can comprehend what happened after the snap has happened, the better we'll be able to perform during the middle of it. So that has been and then just the energy, the bounce, the feel, the tempo, the look teams having a chance to work Devo versus Devo, get them excited about football. I made one of my assistant coaches talked about he was at an environment where he was around a group of our players with their parents, and he sat with them for an hour and a half, and nobody talked about anything other than football. And it wasn't just about Illinois football. They just talked about football and about being in that same environment in the past where it was about everything other than football, right? Like what's going on in campus, who's dating who's got this, who's got that. Like now it's about the reality of it. And I think the more our guys think, talk, and speak about football, the better we'll be. And I think we're getting to that point. We're not anywhere near where we need to be, but we're going to definitely take steps in the right direction.
Thank you, Bret.
Yeah.
Hey, Bret, I wanted to clarify something from Monday. You said Kanena had been at fullback.
Yeah.
Is that a permanent move? Is that package based? And then as a follow-up, since the beginning of the season, we kind of went through all of these position changes. Have there been any of note throughout the course of the season?
Yeah, great question. So Joey, first, Kanena and Marquez, right? Both those guys. Marquez can still play some tight end, but those two guys have, kind of switched to a fullback role and really have embraced that. I think the fact that, basically Marquez had been in a offense, so he kind of knew formations and terminology and execution, but Kanena has had a really good week of practice. And I think the things he brings to the table, his physicality, his ability to run, he's a high school tailback, running back. So he's got a sense of ball awareness and ball skills. And I've just been very impressed with who he is and what he is. We had so many linebackers that, especially when we had Jake and we had full throttle there, but I was seeing him as a guy that was really our fourth will linebacker and it wasn't getting on the field. So I wanted to get him. I wanted to get our best players on the field. That's why we did it. As far as position changes, I think there's no doubt in my mind that there hasn't anybody we've been asked to switch back, right? So a simple thing like Marquez, he could have maybe played a few roles for us at outside backer, but I think moving him to offense and the value he's brought to us on special teams has been invaluable. I think last week the switch between Julian Pearl and Palcho was a huge step in the right direction. I think the conversion of Isaiah Williams and Deuce Spann to wide receiver has been more than worthy of it. Even like I think some guys that really haven't been on the field yet, like to move some guys around. Karan Taylor, even though hadn't been out there on the field, he's definitely done some things on the defense side of the ball in the back end that gets you excited about what he possibly might bring to the table. So yeah, I never force a position change. I'd make it be theirs, right? Like I suggested, and I ask them if they'd like to do it, and they kind of go forward with it. And for the most part, like they've been pretty much spot on. I held my breath, Pearl, but thank goodness I did. I think both of them, stepped in the right direction very well.
A follow-up on Deuce. We haven't seen him in a couple games. Do you expect him back or?
Great. Yeah, my bad. So Deuce had a soft tissue probably 3 weeks ago and got back in the mix a little bit at the end of last week, but he wasn't really ready to be in game speed ready. So, he's still a question for Saturday's game, but if he doesn't play this Saturday, I think he'll definitely play the week after that.
Thank you, Bret. Appreciate it.
Yep. All good. Lauren, did you finally get somebody to serve you?
We did finally.